Hello, friends, and welcome. I really love our intro music. I think Phil created it special for the show, and I really love it. So you guys tell me, what do you think about our intro music? Friends, so welcome in. Today we are getting to know Charlie Kirk a little bit better. Now, we're getting to know the man, Charlie Kirk, a little bit better. Not the husband, not the father, not the Turning Point USA CEO and face, but Charlie Kirk, the man. Charlie Kirk had already decided what kind of family he wanted, what kind of family he wanted to build, what kind of family, what kind of husband, what kind of man he wanted to be. So we're looking at Charlie. We're going to have some clips where he tells us exactly that. And that's one of the most powerful things about internet right now, the world that we're living in right now, is that people like Charlie Kirk documenting, because that's what he's done his whole life. He documented who he is, the kind of man he wanted to be, the kind of father he wanted to be, the kind of wife he was looking for. All of that is documented before he ever met a woman that he wanted to marry, before children, before all of it. Charlie Kirk told the public exactly who and what he wanted out of life. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about that. And we're not looking to agree with Charlie Kirk. We're not looking to debate any of his thinking. This is not about Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, progressives. It's not about any of that. We're simply asking question today about Charlie. Who was Charlie Kirk? And again, thankfully, we don't have to guess a whole lot, because Charlie spent years telling us exactly who he is and what he wanted. And so let me ask you a question about public figures, because some public figures, they portray themselves as one way, but behind closed doors, they are somebody else, right? So it's a rare thing to meet or to focus in on a person like Charlie Kirk, a person who actually lived what they were preaching. And I want us to remember this, because we're going to play a video later where Charlie says, in this video, he says, "I live what I preach." Keep that in the back of your mind, because it's going to become relevant later. I live what I preach. That means he's not being a hypocrite in any way, shape, or form. He is being truthful in who he is. When he tells you this is who I am, when he tells you this is what I want, when he tells you this is what it is, then it's up to you to truly believe it, because this is what is true for him. Oh gosh, our phone is ringing. Sorry. Phil, aren't you supposed to have my phone, by the way?
Whoops.
Whoopsies. So friends, later on in the Culture Corner, we're going to be looking at this. The seat that was willed to his sister. We're talking about Senator Lindsey Graham. Again, rest in peace. We covered that last week. We're not going to go into that again. But yes, once again, rest in peace to Senator Graham. Again, his seat is willed to his sister, because she is the one that has been appointed to the senator seat. We're going to look at that. And we're going to go into a little bit deeper. We talked last week about Butler, but today we're going to get a little bit deeper into the widow of Corey, which is, her name is Helen I can't say it, Comparator. Anyway, widow Helen. We're going to be looking at her, and she's got a couple of things to say. So, welcome back, friends, to the conversation with me, Amanya. All right, friends. So, please don't forget to like the conversation, hit that subscribe button. We really need your help. Use the super chat feature to amplify your voice so your comments could be read.
Buy the merch. Look at that.
Buy our merch.
Yes.
We've got, as you can see there, we've got some hot stuff coming. And I love this.
I need that
allegedly,
hat.
potentially, and possibly.
I need that hat today, Amanya.
You need the hat today? We got to get him the hat today, friends. So we're going to be working some more on our merch. So again, support the show. We've got some great things down the pipeline to show you guys, including our new website. Maybe we'll display everything next week, and maybe we'll take some time to do that next week. So thank you again for your support. Really appreciate it. And so as we do this, we're going to just throw our disclaimer out there. Once again, this is an investigative commentary, right? This is opinions, and we live at the corner of allegedly, potentially, and possibly. We are not here to accuse anyone. We are simply asking questions. Accountability is not hostility. So we seek truth and clarity here on the Amanya Show, and we have our freedom of speech and freedom of the press granted to us by the Constitution. And so we're going to make sure we keep that in mind. And so, friends, we thank you for coming along for this investigative commentary. So let's get into Charlie Kirk. Who was Charlie Kirk before? One thing that really does fascinate me is that Charlie believed these things. He didn't just believe, but he lived it. When he got married, he wasn't just looking for any kind of wife, any kind of person to marry. Before Charlie even got married, what shaped him? It wasn't his marriage that shaped him. It wasn't fatherhood that shaped him. He already had beliefs years prior. And, maybe he was looking at the example of his parents. I don't know how long his parents were married for. And I know early on, Charlie would talk about family a lot. He would talk about the disciplines and things like that with his family. And I don't know if you guys know it, but Turning Point USA actually started in Charlie's garage. So he was at home in Chicago, or Illinois, I should say. These are the places that were shaping him. So Charlie already had visions of what he wanted, but he was just looking for someone who shared those same kind of values. There's a big difference between the vision and someone actually coming along to be able to share those same values. So we've got some clips of Charlie, and I want to play one of the first, and we're going to cover a good amount of short clippings just to show you again where he was, what he was thinking in reference to all of these different topics, especially of the responsibility of the man, responsibility of the woman, responsibility of the family. And so he already had thoughts on what women should be doing and what women shouldn't be doing. So we're going to look at this clip. This is Charlie in his own voice telling us what he believes. So we're going to look at that clip, women and feminism clip.
How do you believe feminism should be defined, and do you think it can be reconciled with conservatism?
It depends. There's first, second, and third wave feminism. First wave feminism is that women should have a right to vote. Second wave feminism had a lot of problems, which is the female liberation movement, that women should not just be at home, but they should get into the workforce. Third wave feminism is complete garbage, which is toxic modern day feminism. There are some good aspects of second wave feminism, but at the core of feminism, we have to ask the question is, has it made American women happier? And it hasn't, actually. American women are more suicidal, more depressed, more anxious than they were prior. You usually have the agency and liberty to do whatever you want, but many women, a majority, like 90+% deep down, have this urge to reproduce and to raise children, and we are telling them to forsake that and go become a CEO of a shoe company. And we're wondering why so many young ladies are miserable and angry, because they're at war with something within them that they actually want to do, which is to have a relationship, have children, and nurture future humans into this world.
Whew. In his own words, friends, notice something. Charlie isn't talking about politics per se. He's talking about purpose. He's talking about family. Whether you agree with him or you disagree with him, when you listen carefully, he keeps coming back to the family. He comes back to the woman, the wife, the mother, the children, the family unit. What God wanted, what God created in that form. And so Charlie believed that men and women were created for complementary roles, not identical roles, but complementary. That idea would become central, I believe, to his marriage. Again, everybody has their roles and we complement each other in the building process. And we're going to get into that a little bit later. But yes, complementary roles, not identical roles. And I want us to play another clip where Charlie is talking about women, young women, and talking about, them getting into the marriage space and finding a husband and so on and so forth. And he believed that this is where women, actually, I don't have that clip. I don't think I pulled that clip. I don't think this is it. But Charlie, there's a clip out there that he is actually saying, yeah, go to college. Because the pool is just wide open there. Go to college and, get yourself a guy there and then, leave the education and go home and start creating your family. So those are some of the things that he believed. He think that the college campuses is a good breeding space for you because there's so many young people there and you have the ability to connect with somebody on that college campus. So he believed in it. But anyway, we're going to look at women should marry young. That clip.
Men are turning more, we're proven to be
More right-wing.
more conservative, but the women are suffering out here. So I would like to know, I'm involved with TP USA, and I want to know what it is that I can do when I'm around women here in Las Vegas, Nevada, which I'm battle-born in this battleground state. And I would like to know what I can do to start to change minds with love. And
why do you think women are so liberal?
It's I watched you on the
whatever.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's crazy. I mean it's just it's so hurtful to see, how they are sexually and how it's just so, okay. And I think that a lot of them are suffering, and I think that there's a lot of father issues there.
A lot of daddy issues, for sure.
Issues.
Yeah. So look, I'm not an expert in how to win over young women for conservatism. The biggest thing is this: more young women need to get married at a younger age and start having kids. The single woman issue is one of the biggest issues faced in the civilization. Yeah. We have more single women in the early 30s that are the most depressed, suicidal, anxious, lonely in America's history because there's a biological clock that's going off, and they realize that they're not going to be able to have kids and that they're not as desirable in the dating market or in the dating pool, and so they start to lash out on the rest of society.
So date like you're gonna marry, I guess that's gonna be.
Well, yeah, just get married early. Like, reject the siren song of modernity and have lots of kids. Like, being a partner at a local law firm actually isn't that big of a deal. Having 3 kids is a really big deal and will make you happier. And it's okay to be a stay-at-home mom. In fact, we need a lot of stay-at-home moms. And a lot of women want to be stay-at-home moms, and we have miserable women because we've been shuffling them into a corporate wasteland when in reality a lot of them don't find a lot of passion or fulfillment in that line of work. And who can blame them?
Exactly.
Thank
God
you.
bless you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Ooh, out of the mouth of Charlie Kirk. This is one of the most controversial ideas that Turning Point, or Charlie, I would say, used to have. Marriage, getting married young women, getting ready to have children, get married, and so on. Some people hear that and immediately they think, oh, well, Charlie is attacking women. But I don't think he is. Or is he urging young women to pick a different route, pick a more traditional route? So different doesn't necessarily mean failure and it doesn't necessarily mean success, but it's picking a side where he's saying in that video that some of these women, they're so miserable because there's a time clock in there that's going. And if you recall, a lot of women, in their 30s, and they're like, oh my God, my time clock is ticking. And we're not talking about those women who are having babies in their teens. We're talking about women who preserve themselves. They went to college and they did all this and they didn't find a mate. And so they went into the corporate world hard. And they never made time because they were busy building in the corporate space. And then, 30 comes around, they're like, oh my God, my time clock is ticking. 35 come around, they're like, oh my God. And 40 comes around and it's done. So, and he's saying, use those useful years, because this is when you're going to find somebody. This is when the body is prime and ready to produce, and get married and get it done. And so he is urging young women, hey, look, this is going to be beneficial for you, because if you're doing it early, later on in life, your child will be grown, and you're not going to be 50 raising babies, right? You're not going to be 45 running around after toddlers. Like that boat has sailed. We don't want that. So if you're doing this in your early 20s, 20, 25, 30, you're good to go. You're golden. Drop it like it's hot while it's early. Anyway, that was me ranting on. So Charlie believed that fulfillment wasn't primarily found. So through climbing the corporate ladder, again, that's not where you're going to find fulfillment. That's not where it is. So those were his own words. You're not going to find it climbing the ladder. You're going to find it in taking care of the babies, taking care of your children at home. So question for you guys. Do you think our culture has confused career with purpose? I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on that. Do you think that our culture has confused career with purpose? Because yes, we have career, and then we have actual purpose of what we're here to accomplish. And for a lot of people, it is to, how did the word say it? Go and grow and multiply. That means to reproduce, right? Anyway, the provider. This is who Charlie Kirk was and is. This is who he believes that the man, the patriarch, the husband. Charlie often talked about husbands. But listen carefully. He almost never started with authority. He always started with responsibility. And that tells us something. Charlie talked about being ready to take on that role. He talked about being ready to take on that responsibility, because as the husband, as the father, as the patriarch, you are the provider. And let's take Charlie from his own voice talking about husbands, providers, and patriarchy of the family.
Encourage them.
Well, I would say you need to understand the biblical role of the father. Again, I'm still learning this. I've only been at it, for 2.5 years.
We're still young.
But when it comes to your child, you are tasked to protect them both physically, spiritually, and emotionally, and really outside the house, and obviously in other ways as well. Quality time is everything. You're not above any of the duties or the tasks or the roles. But you're also, you as a father and as the provider, you need to get your act together so much that your wife never has a financial pressure ever on the family. And if you have not done that, then you got to get your act together. And let me tell the men out there, you do not spend a dime on video games or sports games or things for yourself until your wife does not have to worry about finances. You come last in the family when it comes to finances, period. That is your job. Your wife gets whatever she wants, The kids get whatever they want. And I hear all the time, like, well, it's really hard to meet ends meet. Like, let's go get a beer. I'm like, you have no reason actually to do that. Like, you are tasked with the provider. Oh, what you want all the benefits of being called the head of the household, but none of the responsibilities or the obligations. And it comes with a lot of responsibilities. And so, again, I speak very directly to young men. Erika's the, young woman outreach part of this.
But young men need to be talked this way, actually, because they say, oh, I want to be a dad. Like, really? Are you earning enough money? Have you done the right work? Have you asked for a raise, asked for a promotion, got up earlier, stayed up later to make sure your family does not have any financial pressures or issues? People say, oh, it's not that easy. I understand that. But then you need to come last in everything, in the sense where I'm not going to spend money on myself until my family is able to not have that kind of financial pressure. And guess what? You as men are a lot tougher and a lot more productive and can work a lot harder than you think. You can push yourself even harder. You could do a double-double. You could do an all-nighter. You could do the red-eye flight across the country. You could push yourself to be able to provide for the family. Because here's the one thing I have found. Once you have kids, there is this primal thing that comes into you where if you think you have worked hard before, when you have to go feed a child and provide for a family, you are willing to go to the ends of the earth and push yourself in ways that you never thought possible. And that is your initial and most important task as a father.
Ooh, again, out of the mouth of Charlie. One of the things that kept coming up, provider, not dictator, not king, not boss, but provider. That means someone else's needs come before your own or his own. The need of the mother comes before, the need of the children comes before, the need of the family comes before. That is what the provider does. And the provider is going to provide whether he is here to provide or whether he is not here to provide. So Charlie Kirk believed in making sure that his family would want for nothing, his children would want for nothing, that he made sure that they were provided for. He made sure that they would provide it for, and you heard him. The wife would need for nothing. His wife would need for nothing because he made sure as the provider, all of that was set up. He had taken care of business so that his children would be cared for. And guess what? His grandchildren would be cared for. Again, generational wealth was built with Turning Point USA and his vision as the provider. And I'm going to stop hammering that because I want my point to come across seamlessly. That he provided, whether he was here or not, for that his wife and his children would have no need for anything else. We're going to put that hammer down. So Charlie Kirk wasn't describing privilege. He was describing obligation, the house, the bills, the future, security. In Charlie's mind, those burdens belonged to him, and he made sure that they were dealt with. So question for you guys, whether you agree or disagree with Charlie Kirk, do you think our culture still teaches young men that providing for a family is one of life's biggest callings? Or has that expectation changed? And I want you guys to talk about that in the chat. I'd like to hear your thoughts about that, because when we look at the landscape now of young men, are they putting themselves first, or are they putting the need for the family or their children? Because again, we do have a lot of broken where it's baby daddies and baby mamas and so on and so forth. I'm not going to go get down that rabbit hole. But do you think the culture still teaches young men that it's your responsibility to provide for your family? Not child support, not the government, none of that, but it's you. But I'll leave that to you guys to talk about in the chat, okay? So next, Charlie didn't just build Turning Point USA. He believed men should build families, communities, churches, businesses, a legacy that would outlive them. And we see that with Turning Point USA. And we see that with all the different branches that he put into Turning Point USA. Turning Point Faith for the churches, Turning Point Action for the political space, Turning Point for the community as a whole, what he's doing on the college campuses, or I should say what he was doing. It's a legacy, and that legacy is going to outlive him. He was thinking years and years ahead about, what he wanted to do, what he wanted. And I'm so glad that, again, there's a footprint leading us to where he was going. So we're going to now look at our next video again, where Charlie is really, really saying again, our children should be reared and our children should be cared for. Our children should be raised up by the hands of the mama. And that it's the wife has her responsibility, the husband has his responsibility. And we're going to take a clipping right now of Charlie Kirk and what he thought about daycares taking care of your children.
I want to live in a country where if a woman does not want to go to work having to have a kid, she does not have to go to work and she could stay at home and raise those kids. We should all seek to build that country. It's good for men, it's good for women, it's good for kids, good for family, good for community. It's not knocking people that use daycare at all. If you have to use daycare, God bless you, I know it's tough. But honestly, too many people have to. In 1980s, a father working was able to support an entire family. Now things are so expensive, homes are out of reach, inflation has crushed us. Both the man and the woman have to go into the workforce. That is bad. It is bad for everybody. It creates strangers raising our kids. And also it creates women that have to go into the workforce that are unhappy in their job because they'd rather have their 6-month-old baby in their arms. And honestly, it's much more important for you to raise your 6-month-old baby than crunching numbers on a spreadsheet for some company that doesn't even know your name.
Again, in Charlie Kirk's own words. And, he believed that when it was possible, young children should really they would benefit from being raised by their mothers. He talked about the needs of children, not convenience, not status, not appearance, but the child is at the center of his argument. What's best for the child and also what's best for the mama. And he mentioned, 6 months after having your child for you to pack up and go to the office. And so, and I know in corporate America, we have baby daycare right there, right downstairs in the baby area. And so they've literally created an atmosphere, at least some of the larger companies, where, hey, your baby can come to work with you. We'll just leave them downstairs in the daycare while you're crunching numbers in the other room. But it's very different, right? Because it's kind of weird. But Charlie is saying, no, if we're able to, let's have our mamas at home doing these kinds of things, not in some corporate office doing that. So again, he believed that the parents should be, or the mama should be, really taking care of the child. And he mentioned that 6-month-old baby where, you're not ready to go. You want to be home, you want to be taking care of them, and you want to be there because those are precious and special moments. So give me a second here. Excuse me. So parents out there, I'd love to hear from you. What do you think matters the most during a child's early years? Tell us to us in the chat. Excuse me. Oh,
That was a powerful video from Charlie.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
It was. It really is. But the thing is, he's telling us what he wanted, it's in his own voice, his own words. So, all right. So drop us in the chat. What do you think about that? And so now I want to talk about the shared vision with the two. Every person has ideas, but ideas don't become life until you find somebody you want to build with, until you find somebody you want to share with. And for Charlie Kirk, that person was Erika Kirk. And I'm going to take a moment now to play a short clipping. We're not going to play the whole thing from this. It's the montage of Charlie Kirk and Erika Kirk. We're just going to play a little bit so you can see a little bit into who they are in their life.
Asked, who is Charlie Kirk? First and foremost, a Christian, saved by Jesus Christ.
If everything completely goes away, how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. The most important thing is my faith in my life.
My husband, amazing wife, got married just about a year ago, which when you meet my wife, you'll realize I'm the luckiest person. I totally outkicked my coverage. I way under, let's just say I'm not qualified for that whole deal when you meet my wife. She's amazing.
So you saw that Charlie Kirk, young husband, you know, and his bride. And that montage showed us, you know, he loved her. And I'd say they loved each other. If, you know, from what we're seeing, beautiful family. And, you know, it doesn't look, for somebody like Charlie Kirk, who's been in the public space, any woman that would be marrying him would know all of the things that he stood for, what he was looking for, what he wanted, what he expected, especially. And it doesn't look like, you know, he convinced Erika Kirk of anything, or I should say Erika Franzwey. Based on what we're seeing, their public display, as we see that, we can see that Erika Kirk went along with what Charlie Kirk presented as the provider, as the patriarch, as the husband, as the, you know, the male in the relationship. And they both had their roles. And so now I'd like for us to take a video from MFest. This was MFest, I think 2025 one, if I'm not mistaken. And this is where this was, yeah, I think it was 2025, if I'm not mistaken. And this is Erika Kirk speaking on her role, how she portrayed it in the marriage. Play that for me, Phil.
And we should speak about how our family, I could be traveling for 6 days, but as long as we get one Sabbath, it makes up for all those 6 days. No phones, no technology, just family and quality.
Well, and it's quality over quantity. And, you know, when Gigi sees you walk into the room, she just beelines for daddy. But it's one of those things, too. I mean, people have asked, like, how do you do it when Charlie's traveling and, like, all over the place? It's because we understand our biblical roles in our marriage. He is the head of the household, and I am not a servant. I am not a slave to the master. I am his helpmate. I am the guardian of the home. That is my domain. And the enemy would love nothing more than that territory, because those four walls are not just a home. Those four walls are for when he comes home after battling and building. And those four walls are the walls, I mean, we're creating our child's childhood, which is so special. But it's one of those things where we understand our roles, and, you know, we ask each other every single day, how can I be praying for you? Is there anything I can do for you to help make your day better? And I always want to know, like, what do you need in order to, when you get home, take your shoes off, like an easy, soft landing pad for each other. So it's just being a team and loving one another and knowing that you guys aren't against one another, but we're in the thick of it together.
Yeah, and then being able to then go back.
Okay, so there you hear it. out of the mouth of Erika Kirk that she is the guardian of the home as her husband goes out there to build and to provide and to do the thing that he is called to do. She is there to call to be the guardian of the home, to be there for the children, to be that person. She's not saying I'm a corporate executive. She didn't describe herself that way. She didn't describe herself as a public figure. She didn't describe herself anything but. She said, I am the guardian. And I am here to be in the home, to prepare it, to make it sure we have a good place, a landing place for him to come and rest after he's been out there building and doing the thing. I am here as the soft landing. Our home, our children is the soft landing because I am here to be the guardian, the partner of the builder. And so I thought that was powerful from the mouth of the wife, from the mouth of Erika Kirk. Again, she portrays herself. She said, I am the guardian of the home, creating that peace, supporting the family, doing these things. We have different roles. I have my role. You have your role. We are on a shared mission. And what I'll elaborate in this moment, again, I'm glad she says we understand our roles. We understand our responsibilities. And again, Charlie Kirk understood his role and he understood his responsibility. And he provided that even in death. He provided those protections for the family. He provided that. Okay? So whether we agree or not, things happened, you know, but again, they've presented this is who they are, uniformed in their marriage. They both have their roles. Right? Okay. Next, what I'd like for us to look at is we're going to introduce Charlie as the father of his children. We're going to play, I got a couple of clips. We're going to play Charlie with his children. This is the first clip, Charlie and his daughter, Gigi.
Story time. So we're here at Bill's Burgers in New York City. And right near this very table was the first time Dada met Mama. And it started as a job interview. And I was asking all these questions, philosophy, religion, Jesus. And then I realized Mama was beautiful and smart and elegant and Christ-like. And so I said, forget this job interview. I want to date you. And I said, I have enough friends. And that's where your journey started.
Isn't that something? And I saw a clipping of Charlie Kirk when he talked about this before, and he said he grilled her for like 3 hours that first day. As he just said there, some of the qualities that stood out to him was that she was Christ-like. And any woman who would have gotten involved with Charlie Kirk would have to be Christ-like because he was Christ-like. And so that was a major thing. And he told his daughter, this is one of the reasons I took your mother as wife. This is how you started, because that woman was Christ-like. And of course, if she's Christ-like, we are aligned in, we know what our roles are. We know that this is how the marriage goes. We know these things. And I'm so glad that this is the kind of father he was pouring in, as Erika Kirk says. He was pouring in to his daughter. And we're going to play another clip of Charlie with his children.
Very important. Sir Isaac Newton fell asleep underneath a tree. And then an apple hit him. Kind of like this. So then he came up with the 3 laws. Okay, see, that's the issue, is you keep on thinking when you drop it, it comes back up, but it doesn't, okay? The 3 laws of Newtonian physics. You're going to be quizzed on this later, you know. An object at rest.
So there he is, being a dad. These are like these are the moments that this is what parents do. This is what he does. This is him. We're getting a glimpse into, Charlie, the dad, Charlie teaching and pouring into his children. This is what we're seeing. This was part of the role of the patriarch, leading the way and showing his children and speaking with them. They need that. They absolutely need that. And even though Erika, the wife, she's doing her part with the children, but he needed to be doing his part in their life, pouring into them in that way. He is, again, the father. So one more clip of him with his children. So, it's so beautiful to watch, to see him with his children. They've lost their father, and now there's a space, there's an empty space there where Charlie used to fill for them. He believed that children should be loved and praised, in that way, where the wife is there nurturing them and the father is there as well. But it really brings us to a question about his children. You saw how much love he was pouring into them. The children are losing in this moment because they've lost their father, and it appears that they're not having the guardian available to them as much because of the role that she has taken as the CEO of the organization. So the children are really, really the ones losing out. And I'd like to say also, Charlie was very animate about living what he preached. This was him living it. He laid down the foundations for what he wanted. He found a wife that understood what he wanted, and she called herself the guardian of the children, of the family, of the home. And he lived what he preached. He lived what he preached. And so I want us to take another clipping of Charlie Kirk where he was passionate. He lost his cool because he was baited by Shank from the Young Turks about living what he preached. And you can see Charlie goes into a Charlie we've never seen before, because he was offended that Shank could utter the words that he was not living what he preached. Go ahead and play it for me.
You're trying to attack me, which is ridiculous, like asking me what my salary is. Sure, I'll reveal it willingly.
You brought it up in context. I'm asking,
No,
why don't you live like a socialist?
Okay.
Go live like a socialist.
The point is larger. The point is larger than that, Charlie.
I live like a capitalist every single day, Shank.
guys.
I live as a capitalist,
Hey,
I live what I believe.
No.
What do I do? I get charity every single year.
Hold on.
What's my salary? Less than it.
Charlie,
take a seat. Come on, Shank, let's go.
Charlie, what are you doing?
Take a seat. Take a seat.
Psycho?
All right, no. Take a seat. You're gonna take a seat. You're gonna take a seat over here.
Oh my God.
What's my salary?
All right.
Oh, ridiculous. All right, behave, everyone. Jesus Christ.
Okay.
I practice what I preach, Shank.
Charlie.
Stop.
You do not practice what you preach.
Charlie.
All right, hold on. Last point.
Okay. In Charlie Kirk's own words, I practice what I preach. I'm no hypocrite. And I think he got really passionate there because that offended him. that to be called to say he's not doing what he, those were the early years before Erika Kirk. He practiced what he preached. He lived what he preached. And so when a wife comes along, you would assume that this is the same thing in the home. He is practicing in the home what he preached. And I think it's very telling of some of the things that we see now. He practiced what he preached, and he wanted to live a life privately that way and a life publicly that way. He did not ever want anybody to say that he was living like a hypocrite. And then the last clip we're going to look into is the clipping of Charlie Kirk, the last interview that he did before he died. The morning of 9/10, he took an early interview, and here is a short clipping from that.
Last question. What is a quote that you live by?
Boy, a quote that I live by. I'm a Christian. I wear it on my sleeve, so quotes would probably always be Bible verses. I'll give you two. One is actually not in the Bible, it's more mythological, and one is actually in the Bible. The first is not in the Bible, it's "This too shall pass," which was actually, people think it's in the Bible, it's not, but it's King Solomon's phrase, which is really amazing when you think about it, because it's good no matter what season of life that you're in. If you're going through the worst of times, this too shall pass, and things are going to get better. If you're going through the best of times, though, it's really humbling. This too shall pass, and this will fade away, because this will not last forever. So I love that.
And they don't.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a time transcendent truth that applies towards all periods as an entrepreneur. It humbles you when you need it. It builds you up when you need it. Gives you hope when you need it. It also gives you a little bit of a dose of a gut check. One of my favorite verses, though, is Romans 8:28. Which just says that God works all things for good for those who love him. It's a very freeing and liberating verse for those of us that are Christians, because we believe that when things can be really bad, God is working it for his good, his perfect and pleasing will, which is a very, very hard teaching when you come across business closures or staff layoffs. But it's very liberating that God is working all things towards an ultimate good. So I love that, and it kind of is very freeing that I don't have to be in charge of everything. And there is a God and I am not him, and I surrender to his will.
Wow. That was the morning of 9/10. That is what came out of his mouth. And that is a beautiful Bible verse, and it's one of my favorites as well. God is working it all out. He works it out no matter what we're seeing, no matter all of the different things that we're talking about when it comes to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. God is ultimately at play. He is ultimately working it out, and he's working it out for Erika Kirk. He's working it out for the Kirk children. He's working it out. We don't know what's happening. Charlie Kirk's assassination has woken up the left and the right. His assassination has woken up people to get onto podcasts, to start talking, to talk about all of these things. He's brought people together. His death ultimately has brought people together. And I like to say, God makes lemonade out of some of the things. And this thing, God is making lemonade out of it. We don't know what is at play. We don't know what's coming with this, with the future. We don't know what this is revealing when it comes to the deep state, when it comes to government, when it comes to all of the things that we're seeing in the culture and in the society. God is working it out, Charlie. He's working it out. And with that, we'll talk more about Charlie Kirk next week. We're going to continue to dig. We're going to continue to peel back the onion. We're going to continue to do the work because God is working it out. So, we're getting into Culture Corner now. Let's go. Amen, amen, amen. Thank you. Amen, amen, amen. Oh, gosh. 100% agree. Some things not right with Erika. She should be with her kids. Yes, yes, yes. There's something not right there. And I'm going to just touch on that really quickly because, once again, Charlie Kirk provided. He didn't need his wife to be in the office the week of his taking out, his unaliving. We played it, I think, a couple of weeks ago. I think two episodes ago, where she was in the office. Merch sales, how much we made, da 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 da. It was sickening. Something isn't right, friend. And we're going to continue to dig and pry. And we're going to continue to lay down these foundations. I hope you found this episode interesting. I didn't want to throw her under the bus or anything today. I want to give her grace. But when you lay it out, when Charlie Kirk lays it out in his own voice and we're just piecing this puzzle together, boss lady. She the boss lady now. She the boss lady now. She's at the helm. And if we hear Charlie Kirk, truly hear him, that is not what he wanted for his wife. I don't care what they say. Again, there's no proof of this. If we follow Charlie Kirk's pattern and his reasoning for his children, for his wife, for the woman, for the partner, for the guardian of the home, what they're feeding us, this slop, it ain't it, friends. It ain't it. We're going to leave it there as we get into the cancel culture. The Culture Corner. We're getting into the Culture Corner. We got 2 stories for you guys in the Culture Corner. And thank you guys again for participating in the conversation. We thank you all so much because when you participate, when you comment, that lets the algorithm know that, hey, we're interested in this content. Give us some more. Give us some more. Give us some more. So we thank you for your participation. So like, comment, share once again. So, Culture Corner. We're going to talk a little bit about Butler. And we're talking about Helen, the widow. The widow of Corey. Now, Helen has some questions. Her family has questions. They're just not letting this Butler thing down 2 years later because Butler happened on the 13th, and we covered a little bit of that last week. But today I want to deep dive a little bit more into the widow, Helen, because 2 years later, she has not forgiven. Unlike our dear friend, the widow of Erika Kirk, who forgave on the stage at the memorial, I forgive him. Nobody will ever forget that moment. It was unbelievable. And we may talk about this again because that moment, friends, it was all scripted. It wasn't genuine. It wasn't genuine at all. I forgive him. No, it wasn't genuine. Again, the hypocrisy is real. But anyway, we're going to talk today about Helen, the Butler widow. We have, again, Butler happened July 13th, 2 years marked it just a couple of weeks ago. President Trump, again, we know the ear was taken out. But Corey, Helen's husband, he lost his life. He died that day. And he was literally a shield for his family. He got in front of the bullet. He got in front of it. And another thing, I don't know if you guys know, and we haven't talked about it here, was he wasn't even supposed to be back there. I don't know if you guys, I've been to Trump rallies, and for me, there's always an explanation because they want black people behind that podium. They want black people behind Trump. It's just a thing. I've been to about 15 Trump rallies, so I know it's a thing. As many blacks that they can get, they want them back there. And so sometimes they'll pull you and put you in those back seats. So when they'll literally put you behind Trump so you can see it. So people can see he's got black faces who support him. But that's for me. That's been my experience. So I know that a lot of times they will take people and put them in the back. But this is what happened to Corey and his family. They were literally picked and they were sat back there. He ain't black, so I don't know. Again, that's been my experience with all of the Trump rallies I've been to. But Corey and his family were put back there. And so when the bullets came, he became a shield for his family. And we have a clipping of his family talking about it. His daughters go into conversations about what happened that day. We'll take that clipping. Yes.
Hero firefighter who was killed protecting his family during the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. This morning, we're hearing from his family in an exclusive interview with ABC Pittsburgh affiliate WTAE. Erika Kirk joins us now with the story. Good morning, Erin.
Good morning to you, Lindsay. This family was reluctant to speak out, but we're hearing from them for the first time since the volunteer firefighter was killed in the attack on former President Trump. This is the family he died protecting.
He definitely was a hero. He saved his wife, he saved his child, and he was just the best guy. He was just the best.
This morning, Helen Comprator and her daughters are speaking out for the first time about Corey Comprator, the volunteer fire chief who threw himself onto his family during the gunfire at former President Trump's rally last month in Butler, Pennsylvania.
I'm angry, obviously. My husband took a bullet for him, but, that unfortunately was the plan that day.
In an interview airing on our Pittsburgh affiliate WTAE, daughter Allison recalled the moment shots rang out, a memory still vivid and painful.
I was the one that my dad threw down. As he was throwing me down, that was when he was shot. He ended up falling onto me. I was confused and I went, "Dad." And when I turned is whenever he fell down, and that's when I started screaming, and I was instantly I was trying to keep him from bleeding, and somebody had thrown down a towel, so somebody behind us must have seen what was going on, and I was just holding it there and just screaming for anybody to help.
His family wants Comprator remembered as more than the person killed in the assassination attempt of the former president.
He isn't just the guy that got shot at the rally. He was a husband, a father, a son, an uncle, and he was the glue to our family. He was our...
So I just wanted you guys to see it, see the family, see that they are still suffering. I think that was earlier on, but I wanted to show that because now that it's been 2 years, where are we now? Where are we with the investigation with this? Where are we with answers? Where are we with that? Because I don't know if you guys know it, but during that RNC, and I don't have footage of that, but anybody who watched that RNC convention, which was Butler was 2 days before, that RNC convention where President Trump talked about this, he said it then, I believe. He said, we're not going to talk about this again. Which tells us Donald Trump is somebody, President Trump is somebody who never lets anything down. I'm a Trumper. I've been to the rallies. And he would tell us over and over again of everything. He never let anything down. But this, where somebody tried to take you out, you shed blood, a man was killed, we don't want to talk about it? We're not going to dig deep? Now we're in the White House where we've got the FBI, the CIA, we've got all of the portals to work this thing out, to figure out who done did this? And we don't have answers? Yeah, that's bothersome. The Secret Service again that day? Again, I've been to about 15 or so Trump rallies. I've been there. People saw somebody on the roof and nobody took care of it. Nothing happened. Like, all of that is suspicious. And then for the president to say, we're not going to look into this anymore, we're putting it down, it's suspicious. And so Helen, the widow, she got questions. And so we're going to hear from her as she talk about these things 2 years later.
My name is Helen Comparator, and I'm from Sarver, Pennsylvania. On July 13th, 2024, it started out as just a regular day. All of us were extremely excited, my dad especially, to be going to this rally. It was a beautiful, warm day, great day with the family, and we ended up leaving there as a family of 3. 11 minutes in, my husband was shot in the head. Gunshots went off, and my dad was a victim to one of those gunshots. He died protecting my mom and I. All chaos broke loose, and our lives have never been the same since.
Okay. It's heartbreaking to watch that, to see that. Helen, the widow, did an interview, which we're going to look at now, where she talks about how she still has questions. And one of the questions that they posed to her was, how has the Secret Service dealt with this? How has President Trump, and she's saying, don't forget us. Don't forget what happened that day, because everybody seemed to have moved on. We can't move on because I've lost a husband. My children lost their father. We can't move on. We want answers. And we want to know what happened. Again, the supposed shooter, was killed. But Helen doesn't believe that this kid acted alone, and she still wants answers. So we're going to play the Helen as she talked with this news reporter in reference to 2 years later, where we're at.
It's fake. I'm tired of hearing that. It was not fake that day. President Trump got shot.
2 years after that fateful day here in Butler, Pennsylvania, Helen Comparator is still pleading for answers. When the first shots rang out that day, Helen's husband, Corey Comparator, a 50-year-old fire chief, father of 2, dove over his wife and daughter, acting as a human shield, taking one of those bullets himself.
And unfortunately, he got killed. And I don't want anybody to forget that. And I was looking right in his eyes when it happened. So I don't want people to forget that. And that we struggle every day. Still. Because we don't have answers.
Helen Comparator says there should never have been a first shot that day. The Secret Service had plenty of warning of a possible gunman on the grounds. Looking back on that day in Butler, what do you think the Secret Service got most wrong?
Everything.
Helen's frustration validated by this DHS report. It says the Secret Service failed to establish a joint communications room with local law enforcement who had been receiving reports about the suspicious person, later identified as the shooter, Thomas Crooks.
They didn't pick up the radios. They had no communication. They had no communication with the outside. None.
I read in that report that there were 102 calls, radio transmissions that were missed.
Yep.
It says, instead, we found that Secret Service received only 5 phone calls and 3 text messages about Crooks. So they're admitting they got 5 calls and texts and they didn't do anything. But what's your reaction?
My reaction is why? Why? Why wouldn't you have reacted from one? I mean, if they would have held him back off that stage and not let him go, I wouldn't be sitting here with you today.
Crooks himself remains shrouded in mystery. Authorities still haven't publicly identified a motive for his attempted assassination of President Trump.
You've expressed belief that the gunman, Thomas Crooks, didn't act alone.
I don't believe there was another shooter there, but I believe that he was working with somebody. I believe it was an inside job inside the government somewhere.
And this was political?
Oh, yeah.
Political.
Absolutely. Yep.
Have you seen evidence to that?
Oh, I've been told things, but I've had something that happened with me that just afterwards, and you're starting to put the pieces together, it just made total sense.
What will help give you closure?
When the people who put this all together that day are caught and it comes out.
So if you had a message for President Trump, what would it be?
Just to don't forget us and remember what we went through that day. You know, we're still here and we need answers.
Well, the widow, Helen, we're still here. We need answers. Nothing's going to make me feel better until the people who orchestrated this in the government are punished, are brought to justice. That's the widow. This is what she's saying. 2 years later, she wants answers. She feels that this was an inside job. People were involved. This was not a one-man gunman show. People were involved. It takes people to pull something off like this. And she wants answers. But the person who was targeted isn't given any answers. And they are the president of these United States of America who would have the answers, because you have the ability to have so much at your disposal. Your CIA, your FBI, your whatever they all are. You have them. Helen doesn't have them. You do. But then again, maybe he already has the answers, Helen. And you're never going to get them. Because nobody is investigating this. It's done. And once again, we are sorry for your loss. Helen, the widow. I hope you will find answers. I hope you will be able to put it down. And I know you can't because it bothers you. Because you loved your husband so. Maybe you forgave Crooks for taking his life, allegedly. Maybe. We have yes. Yes, she says, girl, Butler is a whole nother rabbit hole. Something isn't right. I'm so happy that the right and the left are waking
up to all these shenanigans.
They are waking up. We are waking up, friends. We are waking up. Helen still has questions 2 years later and wants answers. Yes, Erika never questioned a thing. Just building. We're going to build. It doesn't matter what happened. We're going to build hat sales, mug sales, tents. Oh, we're going to build, because that's what my Charlie would want. My Charlie would want us to build, and we're going to build. We're busy building. This is what Charlie would want. He doesn't care who tried to take him out. We don't care. We're just going to build. Oh, man. I'm telling you, it's a lot. But this is the difference between the two. These two widows. This is the difference. between the two, and I'm glad we were able to kind of compare the two. It is wild, Lux. It's very wild what we're seeing, and we the people, left, right, center, we're all coming together because we know something is off. It's off, and maybe next week we'll talk about it. I'm planning next week's show. There's some things that I want to talk about, and we're going to hone in on Erika Kirk because she's actually literally guns blazing to the people who are looking into this. She's calling them all kinds of bitchs. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. So we're going to look into that next week. Let's get into our last story in the Culture Corner. We're going to just touch bases on this really quickly. I just wanted to bring this up because I think it's critically important that when we look at our democracy and when we see what happens. So this Lindsey Graham seat, it was literally willed to his sister. Again, rest in peace, friend. This seat was literally willed to his sister because his sister is the person who has now been appointed to be the new senator of South Carolina. And I thought this was really, really odd because we had an election, or I should say South Carolina had an election like 30 days ago because we covered that Lindsey Graham had won the seat again. Or he had won the primary, I should say. So we just had a primary. Why is it that the voters voted just about a month ago? Why is it that they can't appoint like the next guy in on the schedule as far as who the people actually voted for? That's my argument here, is that there was just a primary where the voters voted. And yes, they overwhelmingly voted for Lindsey Graham, but there were voters who voted for the next person who was up. Can you pull that up for me, Phil? I think we have a graph of that. So, okay, they voted for this guy, was it Mark Lynch? He was up next. Why wasn't he appointed as this thing? Because the voters did actually vote for him. This thing wasn't willed. People actually voted. And I think that that's what's partly wrong with this whole setup, is that the swamp is entrenched in these kinds of things. They're going to have a special primary in August. But again, we just had a primary. They just had a primary. This guy, Lynch, in my opinion, he should have been the one to be appointed because the people actually did vote for him. So anyway, I just wanted to cover that again. I think it is disgraceful that this is where we're at when the people's vote doesn't even matter. It doesn't even count.
I got a question though.
Yes.
How is that legal?
I don't know.
Because she's not I don't understand.
I don't understand either. The people voted like a month ago. They had the Republican primary and Lindsey Graham died. And now the person next in the primary should have been the guy facing the opponent in November. And I think that would be fair in a democracy, right? One of our comments says they're going to pull another Kamala. That's right. They didn't let Joe they didn't let Joe do anything. They just installed this woman. They just installed this woman. When the voters voted for the other guy, Lynch, he should have had the ability to be the one that they put in and faced off the Democrat in the general. I think that made sense. But again, what do I know, right? Anyway, friends, I just wanted to cover that because I think it's really telling. What we're dealing with. It's really, really telling what goes on in this country, what goes on in Washington, what goes on in politics. That is a perfect example of democracy not really working. Taking the people's vote and throwing it into the trash bin and installing somebody that the people didn't vote for. Just a month ago, the people voted. That should count for something. So friends, if you want to support the show, we welcome your support. Please go to amanyasalas.com where you can see our merch. Become an Amanya Knight. That means you support the show. We're going to work on your hats.
Give me my hat.
I'm going to work on your hat, Phil. We're going to work on it. But yeah, we've got our Truth Seeker merch up there. Support the show so we can continue to do this work. So we thank you for your support. And we say, God bless you all. And Amanya Knights, don't forget, we come with a sword, the sword of truth. So we will see you next Wednesday.